So I thought we'd have a little look around. As you know, we're at the Tanhill Inn in the North Yorkshire moors. There's the Murgatroyd waving gleefully, prancing around the rocks like some rock prancing nymph or something, I don't know. But the pub is really remote. It's quite literally out in the middle of nowhere. We rode about 5 or 6 miles from the A66 to get here, and there's quite a lot of people here, despite the fact it is quite literally in the middle of nowhere. We've got these little pod things for sitting in, having a drink or a bite to eat. There's loads of little boulders sitting around in the back garden, as it were. Absolutely fabulous place. I've never actually been here. The Murgatroyd pointed out earlier that there was an advert on TV in probably the 1980s with Ted Malt. It was for Everest glazing, and they actually came to this pub here, and it was howling a gale outside, and they fitted the Everest double glazed windows, and I remember Ted Malt dropping a feather in front of the window inside the pub just to show that they were completely draft proof. Yeah, long time ago. So yeah, here we are, North Yorkshire moors. Not a place I've spent enough time in. It has the distinction of being the highest pub, not just in England, but in the entire British Isles. It stands almost at the top of Tanhill at a height of 1,732 feet above sea level. That's a lot of feet above sea level. So looking over to the west there, that's where the North Yorkshire moors end, and beyond those hills the Lake District begins, which of course is where we've come from. So look at this. That doesn't look as though it's moved for quite some time. But anyway, they have a lot of live music here, 3 nights a week apparently, and all kinds of cultural stuff going on. And it's a magnet for tourists who want to go and see the highest pub in the British Isles. There's also 3 bikers just turned up. Some nice looking bikes here. So there we are, Tanhill Inn, the highest pub in the British Isles. Eat, drink, stay and play. Sounds good to me. They also serve Theakston's Old Peculiar, which is a very nice pint of dark beer. And look at this. It's a Motor Guzzi V85. Very nice. RS 1250. F800. How lovely. And also a snowplow. That will get a lot of use in the winter, no doubt about it. And here are 2 of the most fabulous items in my life at the moment, one being the prancing rock nymph Murgatroyd, and of course Mr. Suzuki, who's made me really happy today. Every time I put on the brakes in a hurry, it brings me and the Murgatroyd closer together. So yeah, what a splendid place. And there's our tent. And now I have to go make chicken curry. Well, I don't have to, but I want to. So the wind has dropped a little bit, and I thought I might have a little drone. The Murgatroyd says I'm always droning about something, but there we go. We'll see how we go. Might still be a bit windy, but we'll see. So, where should we go? Let's have a look at the pub from a height. Okay folks, it's tea time, or as I would call it, dinner time, but you know, northern people, it's tea time. Apparently dinner was lunch, but never mind. So here's the camping cooking setup. Obviously my department, since I earn my wages by being a chef. If you're concerned about not carrying too much weight, I recommend these things. They're impossible to get off their little loops. Mini carabiners. Well, they're not impossible. It's just like one of those old metal puzzles you used to get given for Christmas by your grandmother. You remember them. Anyway, we'll put those aside for later use. So yeah, a spork or a food or whatever you want to call it really. But it's got a cutting edge, it's got a forky bit, and it's got a spoony bit, and likewise. So we've got kind of blue one, orange one. Which one's yours, Murgatroyd?
The orange one.
The orange one? Yeah, I thought it might be.
Suits my personality.
It suits your personality. I didn't realise you had one. Savage dig at the Murgatroyd. We make a point of abusing each other on a daily basis. Well, actually, a continual basis. So anyway, we got this cook set. It pretty much covers all bases. We're not doing haute cuisine here tonight. We're doing a very quick chicken curry. So we've got two saucepans, little saucepan, big saucepan, and then we got a little frying pan, well, reasonably sized frying pan. And this is what I use, folks. Now this is based on years and years of mountaineering experience, and I think this is a brilliant piece of kit. You can get these from a company called Alp Kit. They're about, I don't know, when I bought this it was about 30 quid. And it just fits onto a C300 gas canister, or a bigger one. It'll take the whatever size your canister is, as long as you've got the right thread fitting. And you just screw it on like this, and then you realise that you've left your lighter at home, except it's a chef thing. Always have a lighter. So light it up and off you go. Very simple to use, very controllable. It will boil a pint of water in about 2.5 minutes. So it's not as fast as, say, a jet boil, which people seem to favour, but it takes up a lot less space, and that's why I recommend it. Weighs practically nothing, takes up no room, very easy to use, very little to go wrong with it. My advice, if you can do your own cooking, is always bring one decent knife. This is a Japanese steel santoku, which I find incredibly sexy, but chefs and knives, it's a weird perversion. So we went to the shop in Brough, how do you say that? Brough. And we got 2 chicken breast fillets, and we got some plain naans. I have a little joke about those later. It's a chef thing. And you know what? I wouldn't use this in the kitchen that I was running, but I'm going to use it here because it's quick and it's easy, and it saves me from bringing all of these herbs and spices with me and making a sauce from scratch, which after a great day's motorcycling, I don't really want to be doing. So I'm just going to open that up ready to go. And I'm just going to keep this really, really simple. One of the things that you do need to bear in mind, folks, 2 health and safety warnings coming up, is that if you're going to cook while you're camping and you're going to be cooking meat, you need to be aware that meat carries bacteria. Practically all of the chicken you're going to buy in any shop is highly likely to have been contaminated by a horrible little bacterium called Campylobacter jejuni, to be precise. And if you don't kill it while you're cooking it, within 3 to 5 days the world is going to be falling out of your bottom. Never mind the bottom falling out of your world, it will be the other way around. You'll also have projectile vomiting, you'll be quite sick, and that will be the end of your moto camping trip, probably. So be warned. Cook, or rather prepare, all of the stuff that isn't meat first. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, when you've finished slicing up your meat or chopping your meat or whatever it is you're doing with it, sanitize your knives. Now, the Murgatroyd and I have a pretty good setup here. I do what she calls the man things, and she does what she calls the lady things. Now, I don't think it's a gender distinction, but she tends to remember the things that I forget. And what she always does tend to bring is baby wipes, which are actually quite good for sanitizing your knives. If you can get the antiseptic ones, even better. But be aware that when you slice up the chicken or the steak or whatever it is, your knife is contaminated. Having got that out of the way, and this is what happens to people when they do a level 4 food safety, we're going to cut up the chicken. So 2 chicken breast fillets. Because we're eating with sporks rather than your posh cutlery, we want it in bite-sized pieces. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out these chicken breast fillets on the chopping board, which I brought, which also incidentally works really well as a drone launching pad if you're on uneven ground. We just tested that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the chicken up, cut the chicken up, I can't say chicken anymore, into bite-sized pieces, just like this. And immediately afterwards, I'm going to wipe my hands, because food safety, motherfuckers, food safety. There is another public health warning coming shortly, but we'll get to that when it becomes critical. Are you enjoying this, Murgatroyd? I'm doing all the work and you're not.
I'm doing equally important work.
What are you doing? What are you up to, Murgatroyd?
I'm looking at MSR
Can you speak a bit more
tents.
loudly?
I'm looking at MSR tents.
MSR tents. Well, I thoroughly recommend them. This one is totally shit. I mean, it's okay given what we paid for it. We do have another couple of tents. One of them is actually quite good. It's an Alp kit tent, but it's actually too small for moto camping. We just can't fit all the gear in it and still have room to sleep. So we are looking at another tent for our big trip in a month's time, 2 months' time. How long is it now? 8 weeks?
Probably 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Well, 8 weeks today we get the train.
Yeah, indeed. Right, critical thing here, guys, because just because you're camping and cooking doesn't mean that your food has to suffer. My little habit, I have a habit. It's called salt. And I can't get into that because I have no fingernails. So the Murgatroyd's going to open my salt up for me. And she's going to be completely aware that that's got Campylobacter on it. So she's going to sanitize her fingers immediately afterwards. Thank you. So always when you're cooking meat, pre-season it. Don't put the salt in when you're cooking. Put the salt in before you cook. And just sprinkle it over and leave the meat to absorb the salt. So we're not going to start cooking just yet. And now I'm going to sanitize my hands. Nutmeg baby wipes. They're fragranced with nutmeg. Ooh, I don't need that one. You want one? You need to sanitize. Oh, you got one now? Well, have a fresh one. So yeah, just wipe the stuff off your fingers. Probably stop you from being sick.
Oh no, I've also got to wipe off that packet because you picked the packet up.
Which packet?
That packet of
Oh
baby
no,
wipes.
it's empty. It's not going to get used again.
The baby wipes packet is.
Oh, the baby? No, I haven't. No, all I did was lift it with a finger that hadn't touched the meat. You see that one?
You lifted it with one finger. That's clever.
I lifted it with one finger.
Levitating, was it?
That's what chefs do. You know, when you're in the kitchen, you're handling raw meat, and you don't necessarily want to wash your hands all the time. You're acutely aware of what is contaminated potentially and what is not. That's how chefs work. Well, that's how good chefs work. It's not how most chefs work. Folks, you should worry about eating out. You really should. I've worked with too many chefs to ever feel safe eating out. Have we got a rubbish bin yet, Murgatroyd?
Yes,
It's really important to have a refuse bin. There we go. This campsite does specify that they do not have the capacity to deal with your litter, waste, refuse, so you've got to take it away with you. So if you do come here to Tan Hill Campsite, and I'd recommend it, it's a fabulous view out of the door there. We'll have a look at that again in a bit. Do bring a bag for taking away your shite. Alright then, we are almost ready to start cooking, and here comes the second health and safety warning. Do not cook in your tent. Just don't. Two reasons. One, if it's not this big, you're going to set fire to the damn thing and then you've got no shelter. Two, you're probably going to get carbon monoxide poisoning cooking in a confined space with a gas stove. So just don't do it. However, we've got plenty of space here, plenty of, what's the word, ventilation. I'm not worried about this. I'm not going to set fire to the tent. Did we bring any cooking oil? No, we did not. See, that was a man job. Not to worry. So, we forgot the cooking oil. Excellent. Because I'm a chef, I know how to deal with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook the chicken to begin with very slowly, so that it starts releasing its juices, and then it will cook in its own juices.
Will a little drop of water help?
No, because then we're not sealing the meat or browning it in any way, are we? We're just poaching it. Sorry, do you want to be chef?
Well,
Do you want to be chef?
I've got to this age and managed to cook for myself, so I'm sure it's not that difficult, really.
Well, it isn't, no.
And I've
No,
never
it
had
is not.
Campylobacter TB or Alara.
You've never what?
poisoning.
Campylobacter, you've never had that?
No.
Nor have I. So, in with the meat. It's not so great being a chicken now, is it? Oh, we've had a fall over. That's not getting in the video. No, it probably is. Probably is. Baby wipes. So to begin with, I'm going to put the lid on, cook it slowly, and then it will start cooking in its own juices. Technical term for that, confit chicken. That actually takes about 3 hours, so I'm not doing that really. Anyway, that's on the way. I'll be back in a bit. Right, so chicken is now cooking off nicely. It's releasing its juices. And so now we're going to lob in the mushrooms. There we go with the mushrooms. It's hot. Give it a stir.
So we're not going to be able to take that knife to Europe with us, are we?
We won't get it through the airport. We're not going to an airport. I don't know. I'll look into that.
We did get dragged in last time and we asked if we had any knives.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to be able to take that to Europe. We'll just have to buy a.
We'll have to get a Swiss Army knife.
We'll have to buy one when we get there.
Swiss Army.
No, we'll just buy a knife when we get there. Innit? Go to a cook shop. Get a decent knife. It's fine. So anyway, we're cooking off the mushrooms after a debate about whether or not we can take this knife to Europe. I mean, apparently it's okay to export weapons of mass destruction to Israel for blowing up small innocent brown people. But I can't take that on my camping trip. That's a bit fucked, if you want my opinion. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Anyway, we'll look into that one. Good point, Murgatroyd. He does make good points. So we're having a shake and a pound. Keep everything moving so it doesn't start sticking. But as you can see, there's plenty of liquid in there now. Chicken's cooking off nicely. Mushrooms are part frying, part steaming. It's all good. In about 2 minutes, I'm going to go in with the ready-made sauce. And then we're going to lob the rice in. And what we've got is, and there's no shame in this, we're moto camping, Uncle Ben's boiling the bag. I'm not actually going to boil it in the bag because that involves boiling up some water. I'm just going to throw the rice in with the curry and that'll be that. Very simple meal, very tasty. It'll keep us going till breakfast in the morning. What are we doing for breakfast in the morning, Murgatroyd?
We'll get some breakfast somewhere.
We're going to stop on the way somewhere and get some breakfast.
We haven't got anything to cook, have we?
We didn't bring anything to cook, no. But this is the adventure, isn't it? You know, you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't need to plan everything. And so, yeah, one of the things that I will be exploring when we go on our big road trip in 8 weeks' time is the fundamental dichotomy between planning and not planning. Now, the attitude we're taking, and it's a really big step for the Murgatroyd, is to not have a plan. We've booked 2 things thus far. The first thing that we've booked is the Eurostar to wherever it ends up, Calais. And then we're going to Dunkirk. And we're going to book a campsite just outside Dunkirk for the first night of our time in Europe. And the only other thing we've booked is a campsite for 3 days in the Verdon Gorge. And that's kind of toward the end of our holiday. And so we'll be 7 days from going home at that point, and we'll be less than 7 days riding from home. Other than that, we're just going to go out and see what happens. The only plan we've got really is that we need by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to know where we're going to be staying that evening. And we'll see what happens. It's one big adventure. Okay, so the chicken is cooked. Let's just check that. So I'm going to a bit of the board I haven't contaminated with raw stuff. I'm going to cut the chicken open. It's cooked. You know when it's cooked, it's an even colour. There's no pinky bits in there. So that's now cooked. The mushrooms are halfway down the road. So now we're going in with the curry sauce. You had a bottle of water in your rucksack, didn't you?
I did.
Get it out.
Left.
That's plenty. I just need to shake this up and get the rest of the sauce out. Also, we need a bit more liquid in it for dealing with the rice when the rice goes in. There you go.
Maybe we could take that in the pub later.
Yeah. Of course they will. Of course they will. So give it a good old shake. And then we've got most of the sauce in there. I always find these ready-made sauces are too thick anyway. They don't account for the reducing down that takes place while you're boiling them up. So there we are. This also works as a stirrer, by the way. Another good old wipe, and he's ready to go again. Where did I put my knife guard? There he is. Yeah, if you are going to carry a sharp knife around with you, do make sure you've got some means of protecting yourself from the imminent disaster. Believe it hurts. Right, so we're going to turn that down and just let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to throw the rice in for about 2 minutes, and that'll be that. So, contaminated chopping board, no point trying to sanitize that with baby wipes. What I'm actually going to do is get nature on my side. I think it's highly unlikely that we're not going to get rained on tonight, so I'm just going to throw that out there and let nature do its work. And then in the morning, either the sheep will have eaten the chicken.
What if the foxes and wolves
Or the foxes and wolves might come and eat the chicken, and
they'll
they'll lick it clean. And then all I've got to do is get some sanitizing shit tomorrow and sort it out. On the other hand, I could use the other side, but whatever. You've got to improvise when you're moto camping. So hopefully it will rain tonight. I'm going to ignore the fact that it just landed on the wrong side. I'll sort that out in a bit. Alright then, so the pan is bubbling nicely. I've turned the heat down a little bit, and we're now going to put in a bag of Ben's Original classic long grain rice. You'll remember that it used to be Uncle Ben's, and you had a little black slave patriarch on the front cover, as it were. Disgusting in and of itself, but this, comrades, is even more disgusting. This is what they say now. They say, a seat at the table for all. At Ben's Original, an organisation incidentally that was built on slavery and by slavery. At Ben's Original, our goal is not just to bring you the world's best rice. Well, believe this is not the world's best rice. We also believe everyone deserves a seat at the table. Well, so do socialists. Which is why we're helping provide underserved communities with access to nutritious food and supporting increased diversity in the food industry. Visit bensoriginal.co.uk to find out more. To find out more about the ridiculous and disgusting woke washing that capitalism has generated to make excuses for its past behaviour. Fucking disgusting. But the rice is going to work, so what the fuck. So the woke washed rice is in.
Rice.
It's very hard to say things properly when you've got no goddamn teeth left. But we have one remaining thing to do. Bear in mind this stuff comes out lumpy. And so as it warms up you do need to continually break it up. We put the frying pan on top. And then, here's a little chef joke coming, we warm up your grandma's tits. Grandma's tits. Naan breads. Just going to pop those in there to warm through while the rice is warming through. And there we go. Because as the Murgatroyd, how many beers have I had?
Struggling with our pronunciation.
As the Murgatroyd accurately points out, naan breads do taste better when they're warm. So just do that and you'll have warm grandma's tits. But do remember to keep stirring your rice and breaking it up. I mean, this is not haute cuisine, but it's what we got on the road. We picked it up en route and it's going to be perfectly fine. So, in about 2 or 3 minutes, dinner will be served. And there we are, dinner, tea, is served. There you are, Murgatroyd.
Giving me the wrong colour spork.
Oh, she's got my spork. She's got my spork. Here you are, dear.
Gonna go over as well.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Look at that cloud over there. Look at those clouds.
Oh.
Look at that cloud. Look at these clouds. These clouds are wonderful.
They are amazing.
So, Murgatroyd, how do you like the moto camping?
It's magnificent.
Magnificent. It's fabulous.
All right.
Should we have a little dance?
Don't push your luck.